That is one really lucky fan. I am Chris with the Joshi Wrestling Recap for Stardom May 3rd, 2022, available on Stardom World. Stardom continues their Golden Week tour. This card was packed with faction versus faction matches, but also included Konami, who is back for a handful of shows over the week. There were good matches and maybe a hint of a new belt challenger. This was a multi-camera show with no commentary. And the first match was a tag match, Hanan and Kaguma versus Ruaka and Saki Kashima. At first sight, this match looked like any conventional opening match, but there was something of note that took place after the match. As for the match itself, while it was a bit short, it was a good match. Kaguma and Saki Kashima set up for their teams, and Saki Kashima would not Kuma pose. This made Kaguma frustrated, and Saki was tripped and instead was put in the Kuma clutch. Hanan was tagged in, and her and Kaguma double-teamed Saki Kashima for a bit until an eye gouge by Saki gave her the opportunity to tag out. At about the halfway point, this match turned into a singles match between Hanan and Ruaka. Hanan multiple times tried to apply an armbar to Ruaka, but Ruaka was able to escape each time. Hanan was not able to escape Ruaka's shoulder tackles though, which just ran over Hanan. And we hadn't seen it in a while, but Ruaka's box made an appearance. Hanan had the advantage over Ruaka, and Starlight Kid, who had been ringside, distracted the ref. While the ref was distracted, Ruaka smacked Hanan over the head with her box. A Ruaka chokeslam was followed by the top corner freezer bomb, and Ruaka got the pinfall victory over Hanan. After the match, Ruaka walked up to Hanan and pointed her finger at the future Stardom belt, and Hanan nodded. So it looks like Ruaka may try to reclaim the future Stardom title from the person who beat her for it soon. The second match of the show was another tag match, this one between Azumi with Lady C versus the team of Natsupoi and Himeka. This was a fine match, and as a bit of an Easter egg, Himeka was wearing Maika's gear. I'm guessing it was a luggage issue, but it was still interesting to me. The match started with a fun interaction between Natsupoi and Lady C. Lady C did her "I'm taller than you" bit, so Natsupoi got on Himeka's shoulder, so she was taller now. Lady C decided that can't do, so asked Azumi to come in, and Lady C tried to get on Azumi's shoulders, which didn't work and they fell down. The rest of the match was a pretty regular tag affair from that point. There was a great mini high-speed match between Natsupoi and Azumi about halfway through the match, and after they both tagged out, Lady C and Himeka took over the rest of the match. Himeka was too strong for Lady C, although she did keep Himeka at bay with her long legs. But once Himeka landed her first lariat, the match was nearing its end. A second lariat followed closely behind, and the JP coaster by Himeka got Lady C down for the pinfall victory. The next match was a trios tag match between Queen's Quest and Odatai. For Odatai, we had Starlight Kid, Momo Watanabe, and Rina versus from Queen's Quest Utami Hayashishita, Sai Kamatani, and Hina. This was a very good match with very good wrestling, but they did keep Momo and Utami away from each other during the match. The beginning of the match saw first Starlight Kid and Sai Kamatani have a nice section of trading holds and locks. Then when Rina and Hina were tagged in, they put on a bit of a mat wrestling exhibition. After Queen's Quest came into the ring to help Hina, Odatai just swarmed them and took the match to the floor. On the outside, Odatai proceeded to beat up Queen's Quest outside the ring, throwing Utami Hayashishita and Sai Kamatani into the corner posts. Back in the ring, the match was now in Odatai's favor. A large portion of the match in the middle was Starlight Kid versus Utami Hayashishita. I really liked their back and forth, and it made me excited to see future singles matches between them. After Starlight Kid and Utami Hayashishita tagged out, the rest of the match was a battle between the sisters Hina and Rina. This portion of the match felt like a spotlight for Hina. She showed off some of her new power moves, and neither sister could really keep the advantage because of frequent run-ins from both teams. Because of this, the match ended in a time limit draw, while Hina had Rina in a pin. The fourth match on the card was another chapter in the Donald Del Mundo vs. Cosmic Angels feud. This was an 8-women's tag match: Julia, Tekla, Mei Sakurai, and Maika versus Tam Nakano, Unagi Sayaka, Mina Shirakawa, and Waka Tsukiyama. Cosmic Angels did their dance to the ring, and Waka was bad. To start the match, both teams just ran at each other and brawled. In the melee, Waka Tsukiyama was isolated by Donald Del Mundo, and after they hit her with a bunch of moves, Donald Del Mundo proceeded to just sit on Waka. DDM were trying to get a quick win, but after Waka hit her rope-assisted reverse DDT, Waka Tsukiyama was able to tag out. Later in the match, Tekla and Mina Shirakawa found themselves against each other. These two have good chemistry, and they did something I don't think I've ever seen in a match before. They kept trading grips on each other's wrists for leverage until they just decided to throw an elbow at the same time. I was thinking at first, what is going on? And then I realized what is happening. I thought to myself, why have I not seen this before? After Unagi Sayaka and Maika had a hard-hitting section, Unagi tagged in Waka Tsukiyama, who did well against the weakened Maika. Waka even pulled out a new submission move, but even if it took longer than expected, Maika took the advantage back. It took a barrage of attacks by all Donald Del Mundo members in the match, but Micah put Waka away with the Enka Atoshi for the pinfall victory. That brings us to the main event, Stars vs. God's Eye. Representing Stars, we had Mayu Iwatani, Sai Ida, Momo Kogo, and Hazuki, while God's Eye was Shuri, Amisire, Mirai, and temporary member Konami. Konami came back to Stardom for a limited amount of shows over Golden Week and defected from Odotai to God's Eye. Odotai seemed annoyed about it, but let it go. Stars and God's Eye put on a good match to close the show, although the leaders Mayu Iwatani and Shuri took a back seat to their faction mates. Mayu Iwatani and Shuri started for their teams and traded holds and locks before tagging out to Hazuki and Mirai respectively. Hazuki and Mirai then went and put on a nice high-speed section, dodging and countering each other's moves. Hazuki I know was comfortable with high-speed style, and Mirai was able to keep up, which did surprise me a bit. Mirai may be the most athletic wrestler in Stardom currently, and that is a large reason why Hiroshi Ogawa, the president of Stardom, looks to have strapped the rocket to her. Everyone got a spot to shine in this match. A couple other nice sections of the match I enjoyed were when Konami and Hazuki were in the ring against each other. It was quick and hard hitting, and Saida and Mirai had an extended exchange in the back portion of the match. It felt like the battle between Saida and Mirai was about who could land a lariat first. Multiple times they threw lariats at each other simultaneously, not able to get a clean one to connect. But Saida was beginning to be overpowered by Mirai and tried for a desperation pin much like Kaguma's Kuma roll, but it was broken up and Mirai hit a lariat. That was followed by a torture rack backdrop, then a second lariat, and Mirai got the pinfall victory. And that was the show. I liked and would recommend the last 3 matches on the card. The next Stardom show is on the 4th, and like this show, looks to have a lot of faction versus faction matches, including another Cosmic Angels vs. Donald Del Mundo match. And we'll open with Rina vs. Hina. This has been the Joshi Wrestling Recap for Stardom May 3rd, 2022. Thanks for listening.